Welcome to Ministers Talking a weekly program where Rev Briz and Rev Z and their guests chat about current affairs, world events, spiritual principles, and any old they want to talk about. Based on the New Thought philosophy and ancient wisdoms, Ministers Talking shares a visionary perspective of the evolving spiral called spiritual living. Join us each week as we explore the emerging paradigm of life on planet Earth and beyond.
Hello, everyone, and good morning, and welcome to Ministers Talking Sugar. You can let you figure that one out. Ministers Talking Sugar. I trust everybody's having a great day. I am so honored to have Reverend Michele Wadleigh here with me today. My normal cohort is gallivanting in Africa somewhere. I mean,
I'm totally jealous.
He sent a picture the other day talking about this is my scene from Breakfast with the Giraffe hanging out. I'm like, okay, don't send no
on
more
Facebook.
pictures.
Yeah. I actually really had wanted to go, but the way it was just timing and life and changes, and I couldn't go. So, but I'm happy for him.
Yeah, I'm super excited for him. I told him I would live vicariously through him, although, as you said, I will still be a little bit jealous. And I will razz him a little bit when he gets back. But yeah, so I am honored to have Reverend Michele here with me today, and as usual, we're going to look at some of the topics that are facing us today. And I think without a doubt, the biggest story of the day, maybe the whole month, is Groundhog's Day. We've heard that Punxsutawney Phil has actually saw his shadow, or actually seen his shadow, and that we are going to have spring coming real soon. Now, I don't know about you, Michele. I don't even know how this tradition started. I should have looked that up.
Oh, that would have been a good thing to look up.
I might see if I can find that. Where did this tradition come from? Of
although I want to say that
groundhog to tell us the weather.
Well, yeah, I'll tell a little story, and you can look it up real quick if you want to. But she's not in the pulpit anymore. But Reverend Dr. Heather Clark, who is now living back up in Canada, I think she is Canadian, went back home after she left the pulpit. When she was in the pulpit down in San Juan Capistrano, she made a big holiday. A bit like Groundhog Day in their community was a big deal. And I never wound up implementing it in the way that I wanted to. I didn't. But it made sense to me, and she made sense to me, that Groundhog Day should probably be the major New Thought holiday of the year, because in reflection of the movie Groundhog Day, not Groundhog and Punxsutawney, but in the movie, because it's the idea and the celebration that we live by choice and that every day is a new opportunity. And so, I always thought that was, really quite brilliant. And in truth, I mean, that it's weird. Some of the things that we joke about sometimes, on social media or when we're with each other have greater truth than what we think, or than what the public might think, right? Because we know, you and I know, that every day we wake up, that there's an opportunity to be new. Yes. And so for me, Groundhog Day,
and that's
represents that, right?
Yeah. And to my surprise, this tradition started back in 1887.
Wow. Oh, you found it?
So they've been doing this since 1887, where the Punxsutawney Phil has been used as a forecaster or a meteorologist. Go figure.
I guess we can assume they've been through a few groundhogs.
Yes. But I love that I'm going to run with that Groundhog Day from the movie perspective, right? In that every day we wake up, we should really look at a Groundhog Day as a chance to start over. When we look at the news cycle now, we get here in the morning and there's so much going on, and we try to figure out what's important to share with the people and have some conversation about, so that we can begin to create this uh,
Yeah.
social think tank, if you will, to solving issues. And the ideal that Bill Murray, I forget the character's name in the movie, he got a chance to start it over every day. And every day he got a little bit better. Every day he got a little bit
Yeah.
better.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And, and then he nailed it. And so I'm hoping that we
Yeah.
wake up one morning and nailed it.
Yeah. It's funny. Like I said to you before we started the show, on Friday mornings, my grandchildren are dropped off at my house, and I feed them breakfast and I take them to school. And but I started this tradition with them years ago. Years ago, like they're 8 and 9 now. So we've been doing this for
Wow.
quite a while. And we get in the car, and I say to them, it's a call and response. I say, we're on
Yes.
our way. And their response is, for a very fine day, because I gave them that
Nice.
response.
Nice.
Well, my grandson, who thinks he's cute, used to say once in a while, for a very poopy day. And so I would say to him, okay, William, you get to have a poopy day, but Lila, my older granddaughter, she gets to have a good day, a fine day. And he only did that a few times before realizing, oh, I'm claiming my day.
Yes.
And unfortunately, that gets lost on adults. That it's
Yeah.
simple, it's silly, it's cute, but it gets lost on adults.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
if we're going to, and I do think it would be really fun for us to make it like a national, I mean, a real national holiday for New Thought communities. Wouldn't that be? That would really be
That
a
would
fun
be
thing to
great.
do.
That'd be
Yeah,
great.
and
And
to
and and
go
No, I was
ahead.
gonna say we take that affirmation that you gave, and I need you to repeat it again. Good morning. We're on our way. What was it? Say? Repeat that
I say to
affirmation you
them,
got
we're
with your
on our
grandkids.
way, and they say, for a very fine day. I did it with
See
my
that we should say that every
congregation.
day.
Yeah, yeah. And there are certain things like, it's funny because, I just left the pulpit, but my community for years and years and years, my opening statement to the community is, today is the most glorious day of my life. And then for a while there, I changed it to, I am the place where love resides. And it's always call and response, and they'll repeat it. And it's funny how some people grabbed hold of that. So when I wasn't doing it anymore, they like, could you bring that
Yes.
back?
Yes.
But it's the
Yes.
power of affirming oneself in the moment. And God, our country could use a little affirming of itself. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, I look at right now the campaigning for the Republican Party is heating up, and Nikki Haley and Donald Trump are going at each other, and uh, now it's going to get dirty, and in terms of the slandering and everything, and I wish that we could get to a point to where I understand it's a brawl. I wouldn't even say it's a fight. It's a brawl to try to get this right. We try to clean it up a little bit, and that people are going to, you know, try to make their maneuvers. But for God's sake, can we make it about the real issues that are facing our people? And not get stuck on one that's the hottest thing in terms of airtime,
Yeah.
even though it may be a major issue, but it diverts from everything else. I mean, at first it was, I mean, we jumped around from, and they still there, gun violence to immigration to abortion to we, we start sending people's minds in these various ways, and as opposed to saying, look, this is not a werewolf. You can't kill it with one silver bullet. I mean, this is a whole thing here. We have to look at the totality of it and begin to work from that space. And that seems to be difficult for these so-called smart people to figure out. And it creates a mess.
I'm biting my tongue, but biting my tongue here because I don't have anything. I don't feel optimistic, unfortunately, and I'm basically an optimistic person. I am, and I chose to become that way because I used to be the pessimist, and I didn't like the way that looked or the way that felt. So I actually trained myself to look for the positive and look for the good. I know, again, another Hallmark card moment. It's kind of corny, but my life has changed accordingly. But when it comes to politics and our government, I have no real faith that their intentions are anything other than self-fulfilling prophecies. I mean, career politicians. This is supposed to be a government of the people. And I don't think anybody should be allowed to serve as long as some of these politicians serve.
No.
And I don't believe that they should get paid the amount of money they get paid after they leave their job. I mean, wouldn't it be lovely if each one of us always kept the exact pay we got or very high pay once we left our job? But that doesn't happen. I mean, if everybody had to actually fend for themselves, they might change their focus, right?
Well,
they would change their focus.
No,
they don't feel the pain that we feel.
No, and speaking of jobs, the job numbers just came out for January in terms of inflation and the economy and all of that, and I think we have 353,000 jobs were open up last month, and they say that's a good number. I don't know. I'm not an economist. It sounds good, but I still see a lot of stories about inflation and people paying a lot for gas, and so the question then becomes that these people in Congress are supposed to be stewards of the community, i.e., the job environment and all of this, and you have people habitually working 2 and 3 jobs because yes, they may be getting a job, but can that job sustain a family? Can that job help a college student pay their school loans, right? And so now we're in this perpetual cycle where we're doing this to and froing, but the jobs that are being created, it seems, because I just heard somewhere in the last month, Google, Amazon, Microsoft, and one of the other big tech companies, they laid off about 25,000 jobs. That's just out of 4 companies. So I appreciate the numbers, and I do follow the economy stuff somewhat, but I don't know how we're going to have people who are supposed to be creating safe environments and creating jobs and doing all these things to support these people, and they get an easy ride, like you said. They go and they sit in Congress for 20, 30 years. When they come out, they're guaranteed insurance or longer. A guaranteed insurance. They get this big pay. Depends on what they were. They may even get some Secret Service. And so something about the model of our democracy and our country's rule of law has changed drastically from what I think what's intended or what people expect.
I look at my keep getting it up close and personal. I look at my son and his wife. They're 2 hardworking people. My son's a chef. He works for Sodexo, and his wife is a school teacher. And it takes all of their 2 salaries. And if we, as their family members, I happen to live in their town, if I wasn't helping with childcare, and if the other grandmother wasn't helping with childcare, I don't know what they would do, because it's that hard. It shouldn't be this hard. I mean, my husband and I,
Mm-mm.
we're two hardworking, responsible people paying our taxes. It shouldn't be this hard.
No,
There's got
no.
to be some different decisions being made, and you know, we're so worried about space. And if we took some of that money and turned it into infrastructure, and turned it into increasing the way we can farm, like all the stuff, just the basics. And I got to tell you, I'm not a nationalist. Like I don't think all things United States are better. All right, I'm not. But
Mm-hmm.
it's rare when you go shopping if you pick up something that's made in this country. So I
Right.
am someone, I look, hey, John Karn, I look for the label. And now if I don't need something that's made in China, I don't buy it. And there's
Yeah.
this lovely little store in my town. I've spent hundreds and hundreds of dollars in the store. And a few years ago, I noticed that some of their stuff that I thought was cute, I started paying attention. They're buying it from China.
Mm-hmm.
Now, again,
Yeah.
it's not about, I only take care of my own. But I think we got to start close and go out from there. And so if you do care, spend money locally. Spend money
Yeah.
locally if you have to spend
Yeah.
money.
Yeah. Yeah. And we need, economically, we need to be more conscious. It's so, we live in such a dichotomy of ideas, right? You you'll see stories now begin to come out, right, about budgeting and saving money and doing these things so you can buy houses in the spring and buy cars in the summer, and and those are things that we need. But at the same time, you see this massive machine getting us to go buy frivolous things, and so you know the society is bombarded with these mixed pictures of necessity, if you will, and frivolous. Uh, and they make the machine just it makes the machine go. I get it. I know we need contrast because it helps create ideas and creativity, but do we have to do it to the degree to where we begin to attack other products? And I mean, if it's not a good product, it really stands on its own. What don't buy it. I don't. How many uh well, I better not say this. I'm not a lady, so I was gonna mess up and say something about lipstick, but so I'm not gonna say that. But I don't understand. Like, right? I'll confess. I have a basement full of CDs
Oh,
when the CD craze was around. Right now,
uh-huh.
don't ask me because I'll be embarrassed to tell you when the last time I played one of those CDs, right? And
People are now
so,
using them to make crafts. Z.
yeah, I it's like, and I paid you know, $15 a piece for them. I got a lot of money sitting down there in that basement that I'm never going to get anything out of, but it
Now,
was the
I
thing to
think you have
do to have the
basically a lot of
CDs.
plastic.
Yeah, yeah.
You know.
Maybe they can. I shudder to think I have to give it to somebody to melt down and make something else out of because my money just melts away. But that's a whole nother story. As a, you know, and speaking of stories, have you seen this weather river that they're calling the tropical cyclone river that's coming from the west coast? Is
No.
flooding in Southern California. There's snowing up in the mountains, and in San Diego and other places. It's LA flooding. They had to rescue a guy the other day from under a
Oh wow.
bridge.
Oh wow.
And then this weekend, it's coming across the country, right? It's the pattern, obviously. And they're saying in some places in Colorado, we may get 36 inches of snow this
Wow.
weekend.
This
But oh,
weekend.
Phil, this weekend,
Right.
not
Right.
not not
Right.
the winter, this weekend. between now and Sunday or Monday. But Phil, we I love the whole idea of the Groundhog Day, as we said earlier. But now we got people thinking about Phil, but the real weather is coming, right? And
Right,
and
right.
and how diligent are we about paying attention to the real weather, and not getting covered? I mean, they make folks. It's a money maker now.
Yeah, I have to. We have to pay attention to it in my town because in my town it's a town of numerous lakes. We have 9 little bodies of water. I happen to
Wow.
live next to one of the more popular ones because the lake I happen to be up the hill from. I'm not on the lake. I'm up the hill from it, which is good news when the weather comes. And because our lake is popular, it's the only one that allows motorboats. Not large. It's a small lake. It's only 99 acres. But the fact
Mm,
is, we have to deal with flooding on a regular basis.
yeah.
And so there's a commission that's part of the lake, and they have to communicate with the town, and they have to decide when to open the water, then floods the river, the
Yeah.
Rockaway River, which then all the houses along the river might feel that impact if they do it incorrectly. So we're constantly having, it's a whole new reality for me. I always lived in an urban suburban area, but
Hmm.
now
Hmm.
it's like a new reality to actually have to pay attention to the rise and fall of the water and the lakes and such. So it has implications. It does have
Yeah.
implications, for people. And
Yeah. And
anyone who lived through Sandy, that was a
yes.
heck of a time.
Well, you make a good point in my mind in that we are now so, as a society, as a globe, really, we are so distracted by all of this other stuff that um we don't pay attention to what we need to pay attention to, like that. I mean, how many homeless people could be housed right now if we were to figure out a way to use all these empty buildings we have, right? uh
Yeah.
how, if we were not in such a consumer environment, how could we not transfer some of that to allow people to have a decent modem of living? How come, there used to be a time when we would take young people who did not want to go to college for whatever reason and did not want to go to the military for whatever reason. They went to a vocational school. When I was in high school, I went to vocational school. I got a commercial cooking and baking license. I thought at one time I wanted to be a chef. Tell your son I take my hat off to him. It's hard work. People don't know that.
Hard work.
Uh, and but but we get so caught up, especially now with the social media, and that just brings to mind the the heads of TikTok, Facebook, um, X, and somebody else. I guess YZ. I guess all of them were in there, and in Congress, talking about the impact social media is having on our young people, and that they're being set up for sexploitation, and they're being set up for um,
Wait, what was the word you just
bullying.
used?
Huh?
What was the last word you used? They're set up for what?
Sexploitation.
Oh.
Yeah, because now that they've had a few young people kill themselves because somebody has taken some. They got these young kids to send pictures, or they fabricated pictures based on AI, and these guys were in. They had parents in there holding up the pictures, and I'm thinking, here's something that could really be good, and it is good technology. But when people set out just to make money out of these things, is what the bottom line of this is, and not look at how we know there's always nefarious characters, but how do we promote the good, and not just try to overlook the bad when it happens?
Well, it needs very, very serious monitoring, very serious. I was going to use the word policing, but that's a trigger.
Mm-hmm.
But it needs very serious monitoring on the part of the parents. Um, and I, I have a granddaughter who's 9, and I watch and I see where some of her influences are. And thank God my son and his wife are very strict about not letting them have screen time. I'm really
Mm-hmm.
grateful. And they don't have any television in their house. They have streaming services, but nothing with news and commercials. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not about blaming parents. It's not about that, but it is about saying to parents, you must take control. You
Yeah.
must actually take control. We have to take responsibility, because and part of that too is our children. Our children are very. They're so easily influenced because we have, you know, if you don't give them something to ponder, they're going to fill it with the next most available thing.
Yes,
So
true.
while a lot of the country and a lot of us are coming, homes are coming away from religion and spirituality, where we're not having our children attend some kind of weekly celebration. What I know is that I see people who grew up in the environment, and they have some principles, and they have values, and they have things that don't just come unless we do our best to influence them.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Just look at the case up in Michigan on the gun violence, where the young man went in 21 and killed the high school kids in Michigan, and now they have the parents on trial for saying that they were not diligent enough, or they were negligent in allowing him to have guns and do things. So I'm interested to see how that all turns out. But you know, parenting is not what it used to be in terms of how people fully engage in parenting. I mean, you know, people send their kids to school, and now they really expected school to do it all. Back when we were going and when I was going, it was a partnership between the school and the parent. And the parents and the teacher knew each other on a first name basis. And God forbid you came home with some bad report from the teacher, that was trouble. Right now, the parent, if the teachers are afraid to tell the parents in some cases, because the parent may start fighting.
Yeah, yeah, it's I don't know, I I to me our focus, and I don't know, I know that I'm really kind of narrow in my focus, um and I was when I was in the pulpit, which, as you know, I'm not. And for me, we need to focus. I'll tell a story in a minute. We need to focus on building emotional health.
Yes.
All the things you're talking about, all of it is the result of us not having solid, good emotional health, solid, good character. It's just not there. And it
Mm-hmm.
starts early. It starts really
Mm-hmm.
early. People pleasing starts early, which is the
Yes.
story I want to tell real quick. My grandson, he got bit by a mastiff. My grandson is he's tall for his age, but he's a skinny little thing. He weighs about 72, 73 pounds. The mastiff is 150 pounds. And the mastiff was a dog of a family member. So that's just the situation. And he got bit, and he really got bit. It was very traumatizing for anyone who was there the night it happened, because it was very upsetting. And to be honest, I walked around very angry for a few days that happened.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, he had a little fracture. He's fine now. It's all fine. But this is what happened was, God bless my family member, I'm going to be discreet here, who walked up to him the other day and really apologized. And I was really happy to hear that. I was really happy to hear that my family member took responsibility with my
Mm-hmm.
grandson.
Mm-hmm.
But this is what my grandson did. Now, and it starts early. Instead of being really honest about how he's been frightened, how he's been crying, how he's now afraid, he did the people pleasing thing. And he started telling this other family member, "Oh, it's okay. Oh, it's okay. I'm okay." He's not okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
He has some trauma, and
Yeah.
thank God I'm there. When one night when I was babysitting, and I said to him, "Do you want to talk about it?" And he did. And his memory, even about that night, is so filled with emotions. His memory of it is not even accurate. So, but
Mm-hmm.
the point is not my grandson. The point is we start early. And a matter of fact, a post I just put out on Facebook just a day or two ago, is let's not raise our children to be people pleasers. Let's raise our
Yes.
children to be honest. And if
Yes.
they're honest, even with the parents, you don't like it, well, so be it. Get over it.
No.
But let's raise our children to be authentic, and to deal with, let's deal with their emotions early. Let's teach them how to do that. Let's get them grounded, because healthy young children grow to healthy adults, and we don't
Mm-hmm.
have that.
No.
We don't
No.
have that.
Not
And
at all.
I don't think it's a minimum way to look at it. I don't think I'm oversimplifying. It is a complicated conversation. It is
Right.
extremely
Well,
complicated.
and there goes the reasons for this show, in that it is complicated. And what we try to do on this show is highlight, not elevate, but highlight issues that we have to be diligent about, but more importantly, to show that they are all connected and that we have to be honest about what we're doing, how we're feeling. You made me mad. This, and begin to do something. Change behaviors, change attitudes, change relationships in terms of who you deal with, not your partners, people. Uh, but but I'm reading this book now by Ken Wilber, The Religion of Tomorrow, and he talks just about that. He talks about these different phases that we've gone through, and he talked about how when we moved into the self-esteem period, and we didn't want kids to deal with loss,
Oh,
so we start giving everybody trophies, or everybody got,
everybody gets a trophy.
and so because we was hurting somebody's feelings, or we were doing something, to stunt the child.
Yeah,
But we
yeah.
weren't, because that's life. There are ups and downs. So and then he said, we once that happened, then we moved into this phase where people felt that they had no value because they weren't getting the recognition that they wanted in a specific way. And so now he said we have these people that have this mindset of self-esteem and value, of uh I'm not value, or I need to do these things to get value, which is going to up my self-esteem. But almost always, though, that mix creates a toxic situation, and it becomes, as we said, people pleasing, because I want to be liked, I want to have value, I want people to hang out with. And so we have to begin, I believe, to, as you said, teach our kids to be honest. And one thing I you know we talk about the heart of the community right now, and it always used to be. The school is the heart of the community. Our kids are spending at least a third, if not more, of their life at school, in school, with a teacher, in a community. And if we don't have great teachers, and if we don't have good communal uh, 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 environments for our kids to grow up in that school, we're going to have some really challenging problems coming up, because this is the future. Kids go to
Yeah.
school now traumatized. They don't know when there's going to be the next shooting or not.
Oh my God, my God. My grandson lives down in he and his family, they live in Redondo. And a couple of months back, they had somebody show up in their school. No shots were fired, but the threat of it, two children, 2 different days, showed up with guns, and in come the metal detectors now. And my, he didn't want to go to school. This is my
Yeah.
husband's grandson, our older one. And who could blame them? Who can blame them?
No.
But there's
No.
something else I want to pick up on something you said too, and this goes back to the people pleasing, because not just as children, but there is something that we as adults see. We can't we can't undo and we can't unwind. So we have to start from this moment. And I think there are a few. I again, I don't mean to be reductive, but there are a few not simple but meaningful shifts that we can make as adults that can lean into, that can support a healthier emotional collective body. And we have two. I I put these in my books, the books that I've written. We have an addiction to being nice, an addiction to being liked.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem with
Yes.
those addictions, it causes us to be inauthentic. When we are not authentic, we are not tapping in to our own personal power.
Yes.
Yes, and here Kathy Duca just said that. Good morning, Kathy. External validation is a perpetual treadmill, isn't it? Yes,
Mm-hmm.
that's what the problem is. If we consistently seek for that outside approval, and that's what's going on with our kids. They don't necessarily want to be a great singer. They want to be famous. Well, how do I get famous? Well, maybe I could do this. And famous becomes the conversation. It doesn't become
Yes.
the skill. Like, I want to be a great teacher. No, no, no. I want to be a famous teacher. Oh, really?
Yes.
Well, famous
Yes.
is the result. It's not the path. The path is to be brilliant with who you are. Um, so for me, those paying attention to those addictions and doing everything you can to unwind from them, and
Right.
then learning to take responsibility.
Yeah.
That's a big
Yeah.
conversation, especially with what you're telling me with social media and who's blaming social media and then who's blaming the parents. And there's I'm sure there's some truth in that. But if
Mm-hmm.
we could start teaching responsibility from early on, not blame. Like, with
Yeah.
and I saw this this piece, and I practice it again with my grandkids, because not a mom. My sons are now full grown men, but if you don't want your children, if you oh, what was the quote? It had to do with, don't punish your children for making mistakes, teach them. But so often we associate making a mistake with punishment, and we have to
Yeah.
unwind that.
Yeah.
They have to be able to make mistakes, but to take
Yeah.
responsibility.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
That, I mean,
and we
that's
parents and we grandparents, how many kids do you have?
three.
3 kids. And are they adults?
Oh yeah. Three
Yeah.
three grandkids and
Okay.
one great grandkid.
Oh, wow. You be old. Just teasing. Good for you. That's fun.
I started early. I started
I
early.
guess you did. The point is, now see, and here's the thing, and for those who are on, we normally in New Thought Media Network normally has an audience of the least awakening people. Anyone who's awake, even thinks they're awake, anyone who's in this movement, it's now ours. The baton is ours.
Right.
If we know better, we have to do better. If we know
Yes.
better, we have to teach better, because we can't
Yeah.
keep complaining about the government and the politicians and the this and that, because it starts at the ground level. It starts here.
Yep.
And it even starts with what we're willing to tolerate.
Mm-hmm.
I think so
Yeah.
often we tolerate too much.
Yeah.
That's my
Well,
thought.
our time is running, and I want to say two things before we have any final thoughts or anything. It's like I'd be remiss if I didn't remind the audience that this is the beginning of Black History Month.
Thank you.
So please, we every morning through Black History Month at 9 a.m. Mountain Time, we'll have a Black History moment that comes up. It's only about 7 or 8 minutes, so it won't disrupt too much of your day. Pop in there and get some good information about various individuals who made a contribution to this country and made a contribution to the way of life that is for the better. And it's a great way to begin, as we say around here, to create a world that works for all. So that because everybody has something to contribute, and we highlight these challenges that we face, not to belittle them or to harp on them, but to make everyone aware that, hey, these things really do exist. As you said, let's be authentic. That you cannot stand in the rain and say, "Oh no, I'm not getting wet." You are getting wet. Now you can call it something else, but you are getting wet. And so we have to begin to take life on life's terms and begin to deal with it. And then the coup de grace is as Michele started the whole program with. We need to create a new thought Groundhog Day movement where every day we wake up to do it again and do it better and better and better until we nail the thing, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And please bear with me as I say this, because this might come out a little awkward. But I feel like I'm not, and you correct me. You will correct me, and I'll be open to that. But I'm thrilled because I see Hollywood as a big influencer of the culture, right? Hollywood is a big influencer. I, for one, am grateful to now see the amount of movies that are coming out with so many Black actors, so many, and so much diversity. I love movies, and the diversity that you see now in the movies and the shows, it now feels like, oh, finally. Because I'm one, I don't know. Yes, because now if I watch a movie and it's only white people, I'm like, what the hell? That's not the world. I don't even live in that world. So I'm thrilled that it's changing. I'm even thrilled that at the cartoon level that they're bringing diversity and they're bringing same-sex relationships to cartoons. So they're normalizing things in a beautiful way. So while we're talking about culture and how much is wrong, I also want to acknowledge that there are some influences, but we have to pick up that baton and keep it going.
Yes. Yes. No doubt. And so, as we get ready to drop the baton for the day and pick it up next Friday, I wanted to say we had a John came in, and we're glad you found the program too, John. Hopefully you come back and tell your friends. It's a great conversation to start the morning and weekend to get some coffee with your friends or your partner. And so we want you to stay tuned to New Thought Media today. As always, we have a plethora of programs, and I don't have them here in front of me right now, but I know there's the good news at this evening at 5:00, and then Pastor Michael Mangus has the Fireside Chat at 6. And so just go to www.ntmedia.org, and you will see all of the programming that we have. And Reverend Michele, I'm so glad that you joined me today. While Robert is gallivanting over in Africa, and hopefully he'll be back next week. He might decide to stay a little longer, but hopefully he comes on back and joins us.
I want to put a plug in too. Join Kathy Duca and I, my partner, as we in our divine interventions, where we bring spirituality and psychology together. Hence my focus on everything. That's on Sunday nights at 9:00.
Oh, nice! I didn't know about that one.
Yeah. It's a divine intervention.
I'll have to be there now.
And we unpack. We unpack just the normal stuff, but we look at it from the spiritual place and then the psychological place, because she's a psychotherapist. So it's been fun. It's been good to come back on the network.
And what time is that?
9 p.m. Eastern. So like 7 your time.
7 p.m. Mountain. And 6 p.m. Pacific.
And we did that because we know people, getting ready for their week, and we wanted to be able to provide some guidance and love and support for individuals as they are, getting ready for their week's work.
I love it. Well, Have a great weekend, everyone. Next Friday, there'll be some Super Bowl talk. I don't know.
Oh, I'm ready
I just
for
get
that.
feeling.
If only we
So,
talk
have
about
a great day.
Chelsea and what's her name, and Taylor Swift.
And Taylor Swift. Oh, and thank you, Catherine. We love you. And everyone, have a blessed weekend. Enjoy the good weather if you got it, or marvel at the snow and rain if you get that. But whatever you do, make sure you make it a beautiful day. We love you. We out. Till next week.
Thank you for being here. Bye.
And thanks for listening to this week's episode of Ministers Talking. We'll be back again next week with more commentary on current affairs, world events, and any other our ministers want to talk about. And if you found value here, please share our with your friends. Until next time, peace and blessings.